he will discuss this victory plan with the candidates for the US presidency, and hopefully after that it will be discussed at the Congress. And we hope that this will push this decision towards, allowing Ukraine to use these long-range capabilities, because that will not actually solve all of our problems, you understand, but at the same time, it will result in our ability to further degrade Russian war machinery, which means fewer bombings, which means fewer deaths. Yeah. And it's a very black and white and straightforward issue.
Are you disappointed that there appears to be dragging of feet, a delaying of this decision whether to give long-range weapons to Ukraine? It looked like it might speed up, and now it doesn't look like that. Are you worried about that?
Now, Stig, every time myself or anybody else from the Ukrainian government or political and military leadership have to answer this specific question to our friends from the West, it puts us in a kind of awkward position. Because on the one hand, if we get rid of all the kind of diplomatic cloak and we tell it as it is, tell the truth, now I don't think that would be a very calm response. Now, at the same time, look, last night, 56 Shahed drones again attacked Ukraine. So that means that all night, Ukrainian children with their families were in basements, in subway stations, hiding from these Iranian Shahed drones. Russia never asks for a permission to launch anything at Ukraine. Long-range weapons, guided bombs, and mind you, they are launching 4,000 glide bombs a month. Now, that is a lot of glide bombs, and they have increased now, according to our information, they have increased the production of these bombs. Some of them weigh 3,000 kilograms. So that's a long version to answer your question. Of course, we are frustrated because every time when we see that we cannot protect our children, our people, our cities, 80% of our energy infrastructure has been destroyed. In a normal world, to be honest, we should not be having this conversation with you at all.
No.
In a world where a victim is a victim and an aggressor is an aggressor, and a violation of international law and war crimes are war crimes and violations. But again, we are not in an ideal world, and we are, on the one hand, and this is sincere, right? We are grateful to our partners for the support that we are receiving, because without it, it would have been even more difficult. But at the same time, the delay with this decision is, of course, frustrating, and particularly so because we have had to go down this path with every kind of weapon system that we have received in the last 2.5 years.
Are you worried that this might not end up happening at all now? Because what has happened is, over the course of the last 2.5 years, they've said no, 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 eventually yes. Are you worried that this is going to get stuck, and so you'll never get these long-range weapons?
I think that I don't have other choice, but I and millions of Ukrainians are hoping that this decision will be reached, that when our president goes to the US in a week's time or so, he will speak to President Biden. He will present to him our victory plan, the details of which have not been revealed yet for obvious reasons. He will discuss this victory plan with the candidates for the US presidency, and hopefully after that it will be discussed at the Congress. And we hope that this will push this decision towards allowing Ukraine to use these long-range capabilities, because that will not actually solve all of our problems, you understand, but at the same time it will result in our ability to further degrade Russian war machinery, which means fewer bombings, which means fewer deaths. Yeah. And it's a very black and white and straightforward issue.
I understand that. Before you go, I guess the other thing that's now been added into this mix is this assassination attempt at Donald Trump. The man who allegedly was involved in it has posted multiple times of his support for Ukraine. There's this argument that he may have done this because he's frustrated with Trump's lack of support for Ukraine. Presuming that's a worry for you, that's another in a leadership debate where one side is already a little bit cool on supporting Ukraine. This alleged assassination attempt is probably not good news for Ukraine.
Stig, I wouldn't want to read too much into it before the investigation completes in the US, and this is not our sphere of competence, to be honest. But at the same time, of course, it is unfortunate, and we condemn all sorts of violence. Of course, we condemn terrorism because we are fighting one right now, and of course, people we welcome when people support us. But we are against violence in all its forms and shapes. Yeah, and actually, I would like to stick, if you will allow me, to use one more minute to draw the attention of your listeners and your audiences to this slightly overlooked point. So right now, there is, after the Olympic Games, at the moment, there are Olympic chess games happening in Budapest. And guess what? While the world is preoccupied discussing Kursk and discussing other important issues, Russia is trying to get back into the International Chess Federation, and on the 22nd of September, there will be a vote at the General Assembly of FIDE, International Chess Organization, and they will be trying to reinstate themselves and get the right to represent Russia under the Russian flag in international chess. Now, we think it's inadmissible, it's deplorable, because 21 chess players have been killed in Ukraine in the last 2.5 years. And I don't think, this is an issue that we should raise internationally and not allow this to happen. Well,
listen, we'll keep an eye on that, and no doubt we will cover that as well, because it's a very good point you're making there, Yuri. Great to speak to you as ever. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That's Yuriy Sak, their advisor to strategic industries in Ukraine.
Ні, стой!